One more caveat while we're at it, and something else I've learned over the last little while, which is that I didn't realize that I came to America not realizing that I would turn out to be Rip Van Winkle. That I've been gone from this place a long, long time, and it is extraordinary to me how much I do not know about this place, even though it's the place of my birth. So, if I seem a little shoddy on my knowledge of America, you'll have to help me out. Okay, question number, I think, 7. But, I want to believe in 2 states. I'd like to believe there might be peace. I love Israel, but I have serious questions about a lot of the policies that Israel takes and about the actions and words of Israeli leaders. At the same time, I live here in the United States. Isn't it unfair for me to try to influence Israeli policy if I don't have to pay the consequences? All right, well, here's where I'm going to depart from my 1-sentence rule. Because this one demands, I think, a little deeper discussion. I completely understand the person in America who cares deeply about Israel but feels reluctant to say something about it. I'm here to tell you, though, that if you really love Israel, it's time to think differently about that kind of love and relate it to love in general. How long-term love works. Because anyone who's been in a long-term relationship with someone that they love learns that love includes criticism, just as love requires defense. It requires that you protect those you love when they need protection, and that you criticize those you love when criticism is warranted. This is really one of the more unpleasant truths of love. And that's why it's so uncomfortable to be in this situation of wondering what to do with those emotions that Israel stirs, boils up together. So, on this particular question, I'd like to linger for a minute, because I think that it really relates to a lot of the people in America who care about Israel very deeply. First of all, I want to go into that idea that you don't pay the consequences of your criticism. First of all, what's true is that this is completely true. Israel belongs to everyone who loves it. And everyone who loves Israel is profoundly affected by what goes on there, even if they live here. The consequences already reach you. And not only because rabbis in Israel speak in your name when they make rulings. The Prime Minister of Israel, from Begin to Sharon and certainly to Netanyahu, the Prime Minister thinks of himself not only as the Prime Minister of Israel, but also as the Prime Minister of the Jewish people. Because the Prime Minister of Israel is the custodian of the Jewish people's most important possession, not just the land, but the idea of Israel, which is what keeps this people going. It's what we are oriented toward no matter where we live in the world. That whole idea of you don't pay the consequences of your criticism, by the way. It's important to remember that it comes from the period of time of the prime ministership of Yitzhak Shamir. He had an aide, whose name you probably have never heard, but it's Yossi ben Aaron, a fellow who we journalists got to know very well, and at the time, American Jewish audiences in various places got to know as well. And why? Because he was Yitzhak Shamir's right-hand man, and whenever Yitzhak Shamir had some kind of friction with the first Bush administration, and it happened often, and usually about settlements, way back then, he would be on the next plane to tell Americans to keep quiet and bite their tongues and leave their love for Israel right in here. And why? Because he said, if you make a mistake and you criticize wrong, the people who will pay for it will be in Israel, not you. It'll be my child and not your child, and it'll be on their heads and not yours. Which was a position that at the time I saw some validity to it until in 1992 there was an election. And Yossi ben Aaron's man Yitzhak Shamir lost to Yitzhak Rabin. And after a few months, Yitzhak Rabin moved toward making peace with the Palestinians. And when he did, who was on the next plane? Yossi ben Aaron. And what was he doing? He went to the same audiences, and what did he tell them? This government is criminal. This government is going to be responsible for the deaths of Jews. This government is committing acts of atrocity against Jewish history. In other words, you can't criticize Israel unless you agree with me. What I'm telling you is this. It is time for American Jews to take a new look at how they love Israel, and they better do it soon. I'll tell you why.